It's going to be a quick counter-attack. Sai loses the ball. Big knock forward. Waterfall's down and he'll find the target. Opened up from the heaven. Down, a Decadencia player gets a touch right in field. And hold on a minute, it's going to be on target. Rebre knocks out.
Isaac trying to bring this ball away, flipping into the middle. No, NC cuts it off the sidewall. Beautiful redirect. Clear, but Dantronex collects. It's over to the left side where Silence lies. What a pass inside. Dirk and Jazz working together. The low 50 played, ball into no man's land. Hill motion. Takes to the skies, off the ceiling, reset, dunks down!
And Clifty will look to try and take a shot at the upper finals. Still waiting for its real opening. Clifty off the ceiling, hold on a minute, he will find the redirect! Welcome to the Redirects 3v3 Monthly. Last month it was an unceremonious drop to the lower bracket for Monkey Aero, with Veticore flexing their muscles for instant qualification. They'll be the final boss, but first, it was a grand final worthy load with EU top 16 to 32 talent sprinkled across the pitch. It was a poor start, but reverse sweep dreams were alive for Monkey Aero and quickly extinguished by Celestial. That left the grand final to unfold. Champions on the side of Celestial, top European talents, but the Redirect 3v3 Monthly is about making new names here in the European scene, and this Spanish organization looks to be exactly that. Veticore, welcome to the Redirect 3v3 Hall of Fame, and for those of you watching, welcome to the Redirect 3v3 Monthly number 31. It's myself, Sir Pegasus, joined by Konzak.
You really set the table well, Pig, for saying that. The redirects for introducing new talent to the region. We've seen going on years now at this point of rising bubble talent come through the Redirect Monthly and make their name known on the RLCS stage. Well, that's good. That theory's going to be put to the test here this time around, as we're clashing a little bit with our qualification times for RLCS, and so our player pool isn't what it usually is, but doesn't mean the caliber of action will be changing all that much.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blast to the past for what the Redirect Monthly started off as before they got all this notoriety, and now everyone wants to sign up, everyone wants to call themselves a Redirect 3v3 champion. If you are committed enough, and if you do have to recover after an unfortunate day one dropout, well, this is going to be the day to do exactly that. And if you can snatch a title and a spot in the Hall of Fame as well, then by all means go for it. But this is going to be a big opportunity for a lot of the teams we see up ahead. There's not going to be many names of familiarity on my end looking forward, Konzak. Maybe on a bit of a lower end, with the likes of Team Serene actually being an organization I've worked with a lot. And all of the Zura rosters always popping their way into the RLCS. But to start ourselves off, in the upper bracket is the Joffel Brigade versus SniR Esport. So it's fair to say it's had quite a confident run into this top spot, despite the Joffel Brigade playing that number one seeded side.
I was just going to bring that up. They have toppled daenerys in really quick fashion as well. A 2-0 result was that previous matchup for the Joffel Brigade, and so they're feeling confident. They have defeated this month's seeding Titan and now have a chance to bid themselves into our finals here against SniR Esport, who are no slouch of a roster in and of themselves. They took down the number one seed. Can they take down the number two in back-to-back series?
That would be a really tough feat, but it's a full Dutch roster on the side of the Joffel Brigade. If the name didn't already give that away for you, it's because V is Bart and the Fur rounding off that roster against a full French-speaking side. Vyers, Fanto, and of course the Belgian player to round it off, Taskin for SniR. And we've seen a lot of French dominance in RLCS overall. We've also been seeing that in the Redirect 3v3 Monthlies. Last month, it was for the Spanish side to try and take charge. If the Dutch could do it in this occasion, it would just be excellent to play the bingo cards of all these European champions. He'd love to see it. The dog would love to see it, honestly. These Konzak, we'll go check him out. He's just excited as we are, frankly, to see how this upper final will unfold. You know what? There's always space on the desk as well. I mean, do we have a 3-man graphic prepared for redirect? Because it seems like there's something to be said there. Okay, apparently not for the dog, as I said. That's unfortunate. It's rude. I would argue discriminatory. But I'm not sure how you feel about that concept, but either way.
You know what? There have been some times where my dog has chimed in on broadcasts, and it's very easy for me to quickly picture and be like, oh, even the dog agrees, because there's something going on, but he's never been that loud. There's somebody staring legitimately directly into my window right now. I don't know what they're doing. Thankfully, this is all on camera if something funky happens, but we can skip past the dog topic and get ready for our first gameplay of the day, Pig. Maybe these teams can prove that they in fact have the dog in them instead.
Absolutely. The Flying Dutchmans are looking to soar against the noisy neighbours that are the French and the Belgian players, the Joffel Brigade versus SniR Esport. This is going to be huge opportunities for players at this range in the European scene. We only had one roster average out at over 2K, and that was Daenerys. Don't see themselves in these top spots looking for that highest seeded appearance in the grand finals. Instead, it was the very team that defeated them, the Joffel Brigade, instead looking to take down the second seed as well. And that is currently knocking at their door. SniR Esport cut this ball inside, but the Esport able to get that first clearance forward. That shot's not going to find the target. Pios has to get that clear in the corner, and you see Fur pushing awfully high in that position. Manages to pick himself a demo though on the recovery. Fur picks up once more. Raskins will bring this ball out to the corner, and early on you're seeing SniR Esport the majority of that pressure in this opening minute. But I'll be fascinated to see what is going to be the game strategy for the Joffel Brigade. Are they going to be one of those defensive teams that can relaunch all of these counter-attacks to keep up with the pace of the game? Or are they looking to take control and they're getting snuffed so far by an excellent SniR Esport start?
If the plan was a defensive style approach for Joffel Brigade, I would go ahead and call a desperate audible, because they have been in their own half since the opening kickoff and immediately down 1-0 without any real sense of life into their team. So for a team that is just top of the number 1 seed, now playing the number 2, we've expected to be better, but some teams get off to a slower start. We are familiar to that, Pig, and maybe the Joffel Brigade is just one of those individual teams. Here's Daskins working back towards it. They're just going to take a little bit of pot shot. Wasn't much else to do with that ball. Didn't have a whole lot of boost, and so he's just going to go ahead to live and fight another day as Joffel Brigade look to set up their first offensive here in game number 1.
Anto beaten there by Pios. We'll have to chase this one at an awkward angle. Try to top this ball up for a teammate, but that ends up coming out as a whiff. It's a double commit as well towards that backboard. SniR Esport, plenty of space, cutting in off the corner. Looks to take this one inside. Can't find the target on that first opportunity, but the second and third looking just as fearful. Pios is going to have to clear this one out. He is Bart as well to slam this one down. Fonto, though, again, just maintaining that forward pressure. Once there's movement on the ball, it feels like it's constantly in the direction of that blue net.
Good control here by SniR. They've done so well. Every single time this ball's loose, they've corralled it, maintained possession, and established a very cautious approach. This one is no stranger to that idea, as a back pass will find its recipient. And despite how calculated SniR have been, they give away a long field open net to Joffel Brigade.
And it was ambitious getting that pass behind towards that third man. They were able to pick that one up. It would have been a clever opportunity to pick up their second. That's the definition of high risk, high reward. And sometimes you just have to get a taste of the former.
Pios gonna get demoed on his way in, and there's gonna be enough commotion There'll be some noise in the background too. I'm doing my best to maintain both sides. I apologize, everybody at home. Here we are, working in the corner. SniR flipping it forward as Bart takes over, uses all of his boost to climb the ladder, but loses possession, and that was almost danger on the opposite end.
Keeps this ball down. Carsten hits this one high. Bart doesn't manage to get this ball back forward, so instead it's going to have to be a low attempt from Pios. He's off nicely to third, does hunt for that bub, it doesn't land, and Task manages to pull off that 1v2 position. SniR Esports are saved and now have all the firepower available for this offense. The pinch in the corner doesn't find space inside. Bart almost concedes that one away to an orange player. That doesn't hit the top corner either, but it's still just a ball dangerously looming around this box. The Joffel Brigade at times struggling to get themselves out of defense, but a few opportunities they do, we see weakness in SniR.
SniR's been so threatening in so many positions here, Pig, that they feel like they should have scored at this point. I don't really blame them. They're sitting the house trying to get something to fall through, and it's not happening. And as a result, it's leaving these open-end shots for Joffel Brigade on the back end. Fur can't fall down on top of it, and that could have been the go-ahead goal. Pass across, Pios back over, and that shot selection is absolutely perfect.
The chances haven't come often in game one for the Joffel Brigade, but they've made it count. A bottom corner slammer, a low driven for the Dutchman. And how will SniR Esport respond? They don't have much time to book anything up, and it's going to get even worse. That kickoff has fallen so far away from their advantage. The third comes through. It's Fur with a victory lap forward. And surely game one will fall to the Blues.
I mean, there's still enough time, but by the most unlikely of circumstances, Joffel Brigade has just hung on long enough, relied on their defense. The only goal they conceded was that one after the opening minute, Pig. And while they've sustained so much pressure, nothing has hit the twine. This is their recipe. They're showing it in game number one, showing how they intend to play, and to be honest, SniR unfortunately played into it. They looked good doing it. They got a ton of shots on. They just couldn't break through, and as a result, the Joffel Brigade can officially walk away with game number one.
You say they haven't found their twine. At times it feels like they're completely wrapped up in it. There are very messy attacks coming forward where you feel like they should have stronger opportunities coming from the amount of pressure they're able to land. Instead, Joffel Brigade haven't been challenged too much in defense, despite what those shooting stats might tell you. The Saints were rather confident. I wasn't coming off the back of any defenses going, wow, from the Joffel Brigade, saying this was an excellent save. They were really tested on this chance. It was a lot of these slow rolling balls towards the net that they could just go for clearances out of. And at times, I would actually say Joffel Brigade were wasteful with some of those easy clearances. They kept it in those danger areas, and they allowed SniR Esport to farm a lot of those shooting stats. They were fortunate, but there were not goals to come out on the end of it.
You know, I really like your analysis here for both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams looked good, but there's more work to be done, obviously. SniR, they got shots on, but the shots on were not quality enough. They weren't threatening the defense. It was, you know, it looked good, but it was a relatively easy save for the Joffel Brigade, and that's why they were able to break out of their half so seamlessly time and time again and generate something on the other end. And on the flip side, you're right. If SniR's going to take those low-quality shots and effectively hand over possession for free, you should be way more careful with that ball and controlling it, not just dumping it away to allow yourself a real genuine breakout chance headed towards SniR's net. With that being said, I think both teams are now in a position where, you know, they can see each other's hand. That's been projected by both sides. And so how that changes in game number two, we will see.
And it is that first on-stream game as well, on the mainstream at the very least. You're getting close now to earning that spot in the grand final, and that's going to bring its own pressures towards the players. But this is where you really got to make your worth as a high-level player, and that's what this 3v3 monthly is seriously going to be about. Yos leaves this one, but Fur is able to get that catch. That's another really efficient offensive opportunity from the Joffel Brigade. Abandons that ball, gets the finest of touches, came so close to landing that bump, but ultimately that job was already done. That was intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fail-safe play. With where Wers was on the back wall, he had to be patient, recognizing that was the Joffel Brigade, and so they played it back to their oncoming attacker, and that was a great heads-up play to tee off your first opening goal, and for a defensive-minded team, having an early lead, that means a lot.
Absolutely. And especially because they were the team that didn't have the pressure. If that's able to change, then maybe we could see a team run away with it. SniR Esports, though, not going to allow that to happen. Reinitiating that press. The bump comes off on the other side, and now this is, again, growing in physicality between the two. And that's only going to favour SniR Esport if they continue to be the team with all that pressure, because it was the lockdown appearance of the defense of the Joffel Brigade which kept them standing in those previous opening 5 minutes. But if SniR Esports start to just dislodge those numbers, that's when we can start to see perhaps this fall to the oranges. Task will get back one into the top corner. And just as we question their efficiency and just their prolific nature on net, was an absolute blaster towards the near post.
Yeah, you're seeing in real time SniR recognizing that what they did in game 1 was not working. You can't take those pot shots. The defense from the Joffel Brigade showed that they can handle them in droves. And now what they're doing is taking way more higher quality shots. They're harder to set up, but they find a bump play for the first one, and that second one is a high lofted pass into a drop down shot from the rafters. That's just going to be so hard to defend with how quickly it transpired. Here's another bump looking for the far side of the net. Can't connect as SniR, but they look dangerous so far in game number 2, Pig.
They were fortunate to survive from that attack. Again, so heads up from the Joffel Brigade. And when you can get those plays perfect, they are close to undefendable, but like about these sweeping opportunities of the Joffel Brigade, can they get themselves forward? They've been increasingly successful as this series has gone on. This has started to feel a lot more like an end-to-end affair. But we'll get that first catch. That's a land, a flip reset, instead settles for the 50, but his second man inside is wiped straight out, and now Task has plenty of space right in front of him. He's looking to get creative with the dribbles. That's flicking over to the crossbar. He'll keep you guessing and will refuse to show the correct answer. We never saw that coming. The defense is sent to the back of the net, and the ball was just there to follow.
I was just about to say, he's getting way too cute with it. I thought on multiple times in that dribble he lost possession, but he knew what he was doing the entire time, took that final flip off the bar, and his teammate was there to help him bury it. Well played by SniR Esports, and Taskin's driving home that third goal. Joffel Brigade, for a defensive team, now have a lot of work cut out in front of them. They started with the lead, are now down 3-1, and that's exactly what happened in our previous game as well. SniR Esports started with the lead and ended up losing 3-1. So, history repeating itself so far in game number 2 of this series, but we still have a minute and some change to play.
Wires down to Fanto. Got on there, easily blocked by Pios, pitches off that back wall. And there is still work to be done by the Joffel Brigade. They now feel that same pain they inflicted on their opponents just a game beforehand. That 2-goal difference, though. They have a lot more time, this opportunity to amend it. But now a wider scoreline and that clock winding down. You start to think that this game is as good as done.
Yeah, a really difficult situation there, and SniR Esports are just making sure to capitalize. Pios collects the ball, 0 boost in the tank. He has no momentum to bang it away, so he just tries to take a flick over the first oncoming defender beats him. But all that accomplishes is teeing it up for the follow-up, the second man to send it back towards the net. So 4-1, great save here by Fur, but at this point it may be too little too late. They're grasping at straws for a chance in this game number 2. Luckily, they have game number 1 in their pocket to work with.
Back in their corner is Wires. Look to try and make it 5. 1 minute remains, and this series score will look to be equalised. And in those best of 5s, those games start to run out quick. They're both looking to try and get themselves in the best form possible so they can reward themselves with a match point position by the end of that game 3. It all becomes such an important swing. You don't want to see yourself in that lows. You want that one game advantage in the grand finals, and Wires is looking to earn it in style.
This may have been a coincidental goal from Wires. He grabs that foot reset, but the tire touch is just into the net. It's not off the back wall. He was ready to bury it for the double, but the first touch was a bit too low, and Joffel Brigade, I think they themselves weren't expecting that shot to be on target. So 5-1 goes SniR, and I can confidently say that this one will be put away. And now, I mean, SniR has responded in a big manner to figure out how to score, adding insult to injury here, potentially with a 6 that will go in from Fanto. And now Joffel Brigade, the onus is on them. They have to find a way back in this game, because obviously what worked game 1 was completely shut out here in game 2.
I do see Rhino in chat. Get well soon, I would say. But also, I hope you got those sunglasses ready, because 16 seconds away from a potential Brazil scoreline if SniR Esport are able to take one extra over the line. Joffel Brigade will be looking for a little consolation, and Pios has been the player to make a lot of those plays happen for this team. And yet again, that is the case. Fakes out his first man, keeps it close, and uses that slight elevation to get that shot towards the top corner. Rhino puts the sunglasses back down. He has confirmed Bonzek, but if we are talking about this second game, this is what game 1 was supposed to be, with how SniR Esports were performing, but they couldn't pull it off. And we have discovered very quickly that we were not asking for too much. They are very capable.
Yeah, I mean, it's that first game, must have been nerves, must have been settling into the series. Those shots looked nothing like what they put up this game. And those shots total, they only had 2 more shots. And yet they put up 5 more goals because they were just efficient. They found bumps. They found better plays. They pulled the defense back and forth laterally across the pitch in order to open up small gaps in the net. And every single time they got a look, nearly every single time, they were able to find something. So Joffel Brigade, while Pios did cancel Rhino's trip to Sao Paulo, they will go ahead and see if they can accomplish anything in game number 3 here, because they obviously wanted to go some sort of defensive route in game number 1, and it looked really good. But when SniR is showing you that they can score in the manner that they did, it's a situation where, unfortunately, you have to fight fire with fire.
They're such a balanced team as well. I'm not sure if you noticed on the stats there, not a single goal went unassisted. And despite there being 6 goals, not a single player got a hat-trick, not a single player got a playmaker. It was 2 goals for all 3 of the players on SniR Esports. It was also 2 assists for all 3 players in SniR. So you think you've shut down one, you think you've landed that demo, you think you're safe, you've got that numbers advantage, maybe you can take out the best player on the team. Who is the best player on the team? Riddle me that, try and work it out by the end of the day, but so far, I'm really struggling to put my finger on it. Joffel Brigade are definitely facing a 3-headed Hydra right now. And on their own end, I've been impressed so far from the performances of Fur and Pios, but here is their own 3-man passing play, but he is Bart. Can't get this one through. It's all Fanto to take this one low. Again, the mind game's coming in, the physicality as well. This is such a creative roster to watch. It feels like they've got infinite tools in their box.
And you bring up just how level the entire team is, with 2 goals apiece, 2 assists apiece. That goes to speak volumes about you're right. How quality, well-rounded, how seamless this team is working together. Lots of chemistry happening out on the pitch. They're all doing their own part. And Wire's going to do his part to just get in the head of his opponents.
Can they run away with
touches it? Wow.
Unbelievable. This has been a game where nothing has been guaranteed. They look like they're going for the catch. Sometimes they'll knock it right up. They look like they're going for the flip reset. Instead, they'll hold you to a 50. They're going for the shot. They're going for the pass. Actually, it was the complete other way around. No one's looking for an assist. No one's looking for points here. It is just trying to get the job done. A spot in the upper finals where the lower finals has potentially Daenerys or Zura mix waiting for you. That's the first seeded team in an organization which should be familiar to anyone who has been scouting out the European scene. And that is being casted right now by Rocket Yota. So shout out to him, one of our community casters for the day. Back over for... Keeps this ball down for Wires. The pace is increasing. Caught in the corner here by Pios. Haskins, again, looking for those mind games, but Pios will go straight towards the ball. Is he going to look towards his man in this occasion? Will go over again, tries to keep it down. Instead, ball's not being able to move its way around the box. The demo comes through and still it's a player there ready to recover. It is Task again. Reset. It down low to 50-50 with his own teammate. Doesn't unfortunately remain in possession for SniR. And now the Joffel Brigade, originally front-footed, march themselves right back. This ball comes out. It's going to be a tough ball to try and find inside the box. And that's why you see them work it back round. It's gone corner to corner. And these are safe for the defensive side. And the Joffel Brigade have definitely put that to its most major stress test. All in, Fur catches. And I like that recognition of the space that was in front of him. Was able to pick up that 100 boost as well. They may not have possession, but they are now way better equipped if they do manage to pick this ball back up again. Ignite a different counter-attack. Task though, just more ambitious towards that ball of a halfway line. There were options again for an early jump. It required a bit of bravery. We're getting close to that point in the game now where that is going to be forced. That moment hasn't quite yet arrived. We are just past that halfway point. It is only a 1-goal difference, but it does feel like that second is just looming now. Wires might be the one to make it happen off that back wall. Fanto's right behind, puts it low. There was a player covering that high option. But Vias Bart made sure there were no holes towards that near post. This game still remains within an arm's reach. Wires. Good feed with Fanto. He's unable to break through yet again. It has been very wide play overall coming from SniR in the past 2 minutes. The clock has been wound down, however. 60 seconds to hold. The Joffel Brigade still unable to get their foot in the game. Instead, they are kicked back again by SniR Esport.
SniR doing so well to find their moments, dictate the pace of play. 2-0, and while this one has been less fireworks than before, the domination, the ease of control coming out from SniR has to be respected. This pass a little bit too hot to handle for Wires. He will get back to it, but burns so much boost in doing so, which means that maybe Joffel Brigade can set up something on the tail end of this. Vias Bart controlling over into the corner. Good challenge by Pios. Asking over. Fur reads it really well, but the follow-up right at Wires from Vias Bart, and that could have been a chance back in the game to breathe some life. They might have still found it. Pios holds the boost button through the entire flip to try to get there, and he will cut the lead in half.
Excellent. Little play there coming from Joffel Brigade. They need to be quick thinking. They need to be aggressive. They need to use each other to the best of their abilities. A lot of passing plays have been their roads to success, but most importantly, they need to get it out of their defense. Their inside pass doesn't find a fellow orange car. There's 10 seconds left on the clock. The goal is still required from the Joffel Brigade. Otherwise, match point will be conceded towards SniR Esports. Vanto puts it down, and the second game falls their way. A Francophone roster looking to try and take the highest seed. What a surprise.
And they just look like the better team.
Yeah.
Through and through. Joffel Brigade are here, they're staying in it, but the small nuanced details, SniR Esport, when you can control the pace of play through basically every single game, it's going to be very difficult for your opposition to find any real footing. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Joffel Brigade just can't get started. They can't exit their half. They can't play the type of style that they want to because SniR is just always on top of the ball. And that's enabled them after that first game to set up now a match point in their favor once they figured out how to play the series.
And when we do think back to the one game that they did win, Quant, they somewhat stole it away from SniR Esport. They haven't had a game so far. They really haven't had a stroke of a few minutes where they have been the better looking team. It's just that SniR Esports had to have an oil change, get their shooting boots on, and now that they've found it, they've become a very tough team to chase. That did somewhat diminish in that last game compared to the previous, but I'll let them off. That second game was a very tough one to beat.
You're allowed to break there. It's, that one, maybe a little bit too much to ask. All the others, though, yeah, do better. Bart trying to be the catalyst. Can he do something for his team to enable themselves to game 5? Pio's almost able to find that small little clip in the defense. Pop up goes wires. He has to climb his own ladder. Get back up to that ball. He'll do just that, reaching that zenith and making sure that ball doesn't end up in the back of his net. Weird little flick there forward by Fanto. Will not connect with the teammate. I don't think he was even expecting that with how haphazard that looked for. Good pass out to Pio's. Pio's over across. Fanto read it. It was able to get in the way of the pass, intercept it before it reached its recipient.
Let's pop this ball up high. Let's have to try and catch himself, but that whiff, all of a sudden, makes this a very favorable position for the Joffel Brigade. Denenberg tracks though by recovering Fonto. Look, turn this into offense. Fur keeps it low, and he's so good in these kinds of positions. But he does get himself on the dribble. It comes off that crossbar. The second man is required, but the diving save comes in from Task. That's one to wipe off the checklist. Next step, bring this ball back forward and secure yourself a grand finals.
Oh, and this offense from Joffel Brigade looks changed. They're transformed. They're out of their cocoon, Pegasus. They've gone through metamorphosis. We're looking at a beautiful butterfly in front of us. Joffel Brigade, shot after shot. They're forcing SniR to use a lot of boost to find these saves, and that expenditure is pulling them so far out of position that Joffel Brigade was first to the ball time and time again, and I thought they were going to lose it just like that, but Bart makes sure to hold down things defensively as well. This team looks much better than they have the previous 3 frames.
Absolutely, but a shot is on. And would you look a little bit closer? How the wings sit in general. It's mimicry. It's a moth coming out of a cocoon. Wires gets another strike just shy of the crossbar. So much pace behind. So tough to stop. The reaction time just was not there. And SniR Esport makes sure quick that everyone watching is reminded who the second seed is.
Yeah, 2 back-to-back goals. This one just off the kickoff. Fur defers for the full boost rather than the ball, and Bart leaves the net for whichever reason. That enables just a tap-in for SniR. Look, don't call us a caster curse, please. I know I just sung praises of Joffel Brigade. I think they earned them, though, Pig. They looked so good in that opening slate, and all of a sudden, they just deflated themselves. They tied their own shoelaces together and tried to start running, and it was never gonna work with the defense positioning they had on those last 2 goals. So hopefully they can find that fire they opened the game with to get back into this, because I'd love to see a Game 5 between these 2 teams for the culture.
Absolutely, and SniR Esports have done what they've had to do in this style of game. As soon as it looks like their opponents are starting to get themselves back in the stride, making sure that you score right afterwards and just shut up any celebrations that your opponents could be having in that moment is soul-crushing. I've definitely been on the end of it at times before, where you want to instill that little bit of belief. All the hype is up, and all of a sudden there's 2 goals to your head top. It looks like it could be free, but Fenso has hit the post. He's maintained possession for... Gets that bump on him, and a musty flick almost landed, but hold on a minute. Corner really looks about the target. The flip was not enough. And now off in the corner. It looks like all of that heat has started to simmer down, and Joffel Brigade have a moment to breathe.
We have had our longest lull in this game. A little update from our lower side. Daenerys 1-0 over the top of Zeramix. It's happening over on Yoda's stream, if you needed a reminder. Wires been popping to himself. Has he just found an open net? He hasn't, but he has laid it up to his teammate Infanto. And that entire replay, you don't see a single blue car once Fur challenges. Where are they? Where'd they go?
I'm genuinely trying to think of an answer for your question. Because I thought that they were going to show up eventually. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but no. Never did I see any blue on my screen. 90 seconds remain. And it reaches a point where, do you want to see any blue on your screen on the blue side? They've got to stay forward. There won't be anyway. Wiped off the face of the earth. Taskin ends up being given a completely open net, but I love the chase here by Wires. It was so instinctual. That comes from a team that you know have put the reps in together. And again, when we speak about the balance that these 3 players have, that must come off the back of experience. That cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, 100%. And the castle that Joffel Brigade seemingly built in their first goal, turns out it was just made of sand. Things continue to collapse and break down as SniR Esport putting salt in the wound. 5-1. That one, a kickoff goal, a really well done one at that. But Joffel Brigade just has no real semblance of identity, unfortunately, in this game 4. Letting SniR Esport have their way, and it's going to take a miracle to come back in this one and force a Game 5.
Back off this waterfall. SniR Esports look to make it 6. Rhino, maybe this is your time. Will we just have to save that one for later? Down back in the center, Joffel Brigade look to try and make it 2. It doesn't come through. And overall, this is a team that just needed 1 game to warm themselves up in the action, and then from the second onwards, really did not feel close. This is going to be a team to fear in that grand final. And if it is continued that they need a warm-up to get themselves in the swing of the flow of the game, how vital is that 1 game advantage they're given gonna help them, Konzak?
No kidding. They can legitimately use that as a warm-up game and just turn on the jet starting in our official Game 3. As the clock will officially hit 000s and the ball will hit the turf. SniR Esport walk away with what is quite frankly a dominating victory over the top of Joffel Brigade. Yes, series was 3-1. We had a couple of close games in there, but if you look at the totality of the series from start to finish, you yourself will say it wasn't really close. And that's coming from the team who just defeated the #1 seed in the match previous. So SniR Esport showing exactly why they belong in the grand final, putting their bid in for future Redirect Monthlies to be our proverbial dark horse once we bump up our MMR a little bit more and the returning players. But they have played so well in this series, baby.
They really have. And you've got to give credit to SniR Esports for just how they were able to keep it up. It's one thing to have yourself a few good games, but they did it without really slipping up in any occasion, and that's no easy feat for any team. You do start to get a little bit fatigued in these high-level best-of-5s. Not SniR, not whatsoever, and to give credit to the Joffel Brigade, they have beaten the first seed, and they might have to do it again in the lower finals, depending on how that result on Yota's stream goes. Remember, it is either daenerys or Zura Mix as that potential opponent here on the mainstream, but my goodness, like, streaming, it's long, Quanzek. It really is. There's a lot to follow, and I just wish that we could get redirect action in bite-sized amounts, perhaps short form. Oh, wait, we can, ladies and gentlemen. Go and follow at Redirect GG on TikTok. Please, we need 50 followers, and we'll be able to stream there next time from Redirect Monthly number 32 afterwards. So just help us out. Please go over. There is content being posted there every single few days, I believe. It's either every day or every 2 days. It's the same with YouTube Shorts, actually, where you can also get the full VODs of a Redirect 3v3 monthly. So you could go to YouTube, but prioritize TikTok. Please go there. We'd really appreciate it here for the Redirect GG family.
I've just went ahead and done ! TikTok in the Twitch chat. Get it there. Click on it. Follow it. Or I think like 7 followers away. That's all we need. 45 followers now. 5 followers away. Get us there, people. We better be there when this break ends. We're going to take it right now and get ready for our lower final. Be right back.
I'll run, but you are friction. Your touch feels like heaven. You make me hate all my sins. You are my religion, my religion. I have a million reasons to leave you, but I have a billion reasons to keep you. I have a million reasons to leave you, but I have a billion reasons to keep you. On my mind. On my mind. Wanna forget what you feel like, what you feel like. Wanna forget what you feel like, what you feel like. Tell me somebody how long he will be on my mind. He will be on my mind. On my mind. On my mind. You wanna know my feelings every time I look in your eyes. Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. You wanna know my feelings every time I look in your eyes. Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I.
The everlasting gauntlet does not come to an end for the Joffel Brigade. They've had to play the first-seeded team. They've had to play the second-seeded team. Face the Fiend, move to lowers. It does not get easier. But what a performance that was from SniR Esports. We had the opportunity to cover that upper final where SniR Esports took a game to really warm themselves up into the series. But then as time went on, it was rather one-sided. We also got to see some action in the lower semi-final over on the Yota stream where daenerys, the first seed, had to fight through, what was it? A 5 or 6 minute overtime quantec to get themselves in the lower final?
Yeah, it was about a 5.5 minute overtime in game number 2 that daenerys scored in order to book their ticket into the lower final. And both these teams now a rematch of what happened in the upper semi. So you already highlighted the Joffel Brigade going from number 1 seed to number 2 seed back to number 1 seed. And here we go. Both these teams looking for a grand final bid.
And again, it is going to be the Dutch side of Pios, Esport and Thur taking on a full French-speaking roster. This time, full French just hands down. Dazen, Wazen, and Funley or Fanley rounding off that roster on the side of daenerys. So let's hope that they have still some fire left in their breath to keep themselves going, because that spot in the grand final does await, and there is only going to be room for one.
Is that not a V? Is it Fevenly?
You know, all these players, they love to just throw in V's and I's and all of these random letters, and they mean something else. I mean, I don't know why you're surprised. We literally, RDR Prod, by the way, check us out. Cast for rounds where we've got Marzi, who uses V's for A's for some random reason. I don't know why they like to do this to us, but I am a big fan of Dazen and Wazen as the duo on the side of daenerys. I really hope they're going to link up. You're so right. If this doesn't work out, it's because of Fanley needs to change his name.
Yeah, family, between this game and next, we need a Zin to the end of your name. Dazen, Wazen, and Phazin.
I like it.
As our Zins will get ready to take the pitch here, Pig, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get our spots for the grand final decided. It's going to be a rematch for the Joffel Brigade versus daenerys. They've been able to take down the first seed, but now a wounded deer headed into the lowers. daenerys looking to be the queen of the top. We have kickoff.
These two teams, it's a rematch, Pig. And you know what that means. They shenaned once. Will they shenan again?
Have to see. This is going to be personal. And we had games required in the uppers for the opponents to get used to each other somewhat, I guess you could say. But now here in the lowers, when this is going to be a repeated matchup, last time it was a sweeping result for the Joffel Brigade versus daenerys. They've already had that warm period. They've already had that opportunity to feel each other out, see who the weak points are on either side. Starting off by Pios showing that he is going to be one of those players to fear.
Currently, the Joffel Brigade still looking like they have daenerys' number. Early goal here, and what I'm really looking for here, Pig, is if the Joffel Brigade can repeat their performance against daenerys, win in a relatively easy fashion. We are in a best-of-5 series, and these teams have, you know, they have familiarity with each other. They've had more time to play. Anything could change. But if the Joffel Brigade win, I don't know what's stopping on the top side of the bracket SniR Esport from winning, because they looked so much better in that previous matchup that we're going to have to see a lot from either one of these teams in order for that, in my mind, to be competitive. But daenerys, for now, making this one competitive with an equalizer.
You see, we use the phrase as casters, shift it up a gear a lot. We need to shift it up a gear to be able to keep up with our opponents. This time, they need to swap out their engines. We need to get in a V8 for these Joffel Brigades if they do want to stand a chance in that grand final, should they qualify. daenerys, this is their opportunity themselves to prove that they may have been bruised going into the lowers, but after fighting so hard in that lower semis, this is a team that is going to be fired up, wired to keep themselves going. Fur takes this ball down low. It's a simple save coming out for daenerys. Not going to be enough to control that ball. The forward space though maintained. Just has to get that block off. And he does get it. 2 touches off that backward. The early challenge coming in from Waze and Dazen will be waiting on that side wall to keep the ball flowing. The bump will certainly open up the space for him. But once that reaches that central area, no one's there to collect. The Joffel Brigade will escape.
Dazen, good pinch on the side wall as his teammates getting dribbled into a demo. Wazen will respawn him and family on the same side, but he'll grab the full boost and transfer over laterally. Fur, good challenge. Nobody's there to help him, though, as this ball will just continue cycling the corner. A monster pinch sends it towards net. It's just off. Via's Bart thought it could have been on, and he's going to take it from one corner to the other. As we're playing a little bit of boom ball right now, as Fur not going to stop the antics. We'll send it all the way into Daenerys' half.
Hit the ground. Surely that's going to be 1 point to one team if it is volleyball that we're going to be playing. Instead, goes down to Fanley in his own corner. Keeps this ball low. Holds off that 50 well, but in the corner, abandons away from about 100 boosts. So want to steal it. Wants to keep it as a resource for a teammate later on. And that does prove valuable in this defense. Burr went for it himself. It might seem intricate. It might not seem like it's worth much, but it's what's made this counter-attack possible. The demo comes out. And the Joffel Brigade have some space to advance.
Dazen off the sidewall, flip reset. Doesn't get a ton of power behind that chip, but does find a demo. The double just off target. That would have been the highlight clip of the tournament. But Daenerys can't connect with the back of the net.
Giving us a taste of what these two teams are capable of. And maybe we will have shots of a tournament enter our screens very, very soon. But for now, the defense is locked up on the side of Joffel Brigade. The ball is boomed forward. There's a player waiting on that sidewall. It's Wazen connected with Dazen. Now looking to try and find Fanley, but the sidewall comes out. Not enough power. Had me believe for a split second. They're keeping it simple with the strikes to the bottom corner instead. But they just about extend. Get it wide off the post, and we remain in a closed game.
Great challenge by Waze and followed by Family. Good save by Fur, but straight over to Dazen though. Can he keep his pressure going? Fur doing so much to enable his defense some time to breathe. The one-man show there on that sequence. Dazen, haphazard flip, but he wins that delayed 50. Family back towards the far side of the net, and the placement was all that was needed. Forget power. If the placement is perfect, it's gonna go in.
Representing all of the Game of Thrones fans in chat. And on their side, they're hoping for a better ending. 2-1 in their favour. It was a poor start to the day once they got themselves close to those mainstream spots. But you can tell that there's a fire in their bellies. And who better than those representing the Dragons to let it unleash on their opponents.
Pop-up touch from Fur looking for help. Here's POs to the back wall. Actually got a flip, but he baited his teammate Via's Bart. It may have worked though, as he found a dime over to Fur, but biting off more than they can chew is the Joffel Brigade. It looked so good until it didn't. That one save by Dazen enabled an open net for Wazen, and Daenerys goes up by Tuzen.
Raisin. Oh God, you are a comedian's dream with a laugh like that. Fur makes it 2, gets this one back within 1, and well, they were the dominant side the last time these two teams faced. So if you thought this was going to be one side in the complete opposite direction, the Joffel Brigade have something to say about that. 23 seconds. And just as recent as the previous Sam Open, we've seen goals within 10 seconds go from 2 goal deficits to 0. Sam already had that reputation. Apparently, that is returning to the highest level seen here in Europe. However, it doesn't look like Daenerys are going to be as forgiving. 2-goal increase. 4-2 on the side of this orange team. Wazen just able to sneak that one out, and he'll feel fortunate that this one doesn't go over. Either way, though. 6 seconds. I guess, actually, this is still on.
You know, a really tight-knit game through and through. And had the Joffel Brigade not put all of their eggs in that single last shot attempt basket, I think we're playing an OT right now. But they set the house, they couldn't connect, and they end up losing that late second go-ahead goal into the fourth, insult to injury from Daenerys. But I think we have a series on our hand, Pig. I see why the Joffel Brigade was able to win over the top of Daenerys, but Daenerys has obviously learned a little bit, as they do claim their first win against this roster, but I'd be shocked if we didn't have a quality near full-length series out of these two teams.
Well, this is what's so special about the double elimination formats that we do here over the Redirects 3v3 monthlies and many other tournaments as well. You've got the chance for these rematches to happen on the very same day that they've already played each other. And it does lead to these very exciting, very personal feeling matchups where it feels like there's that little bit extra on the line. Of course, they can guarantee themselves some prize pool if they make their way into the grand finals. There's a little bit of pride on the side now as well. They don't want to lose the best of set, if you will, if Joffel Brigade are able to take it out yet again. But if they can even the score, but then still be able to knock them out of the tournament, that feels like that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Revenge is something very sweet, Pig. That's exactly what they're looking for here. A little bit of a double, a triple whammy, if you will, in knocking out your rival, getting into the grand finals, and getting a chunk of that prize pool. You know, losing the challenge in the corners, Daenerys are looking to do just that. For ran out of boost right before he made contact with the ball, but did enough to create some space as Via's Bart almost going all the way. I thought that didn't have a chance, and all of a sudden it was on the doorstep of Daenerys' goal.
Jason keeps this ball down, looks to try and take some control in the corner. Does get it inside. Wazen just has to tuck this one away into the bottom corner. And it just comes from the genius of Dazen. Fake going high, sends it low. Those 50s are always so strong if you're able to take control of them. That's a wonderful way to pick up their first. And to continue what is a revenge tour for Daenerys.
There. Over to that sidewall family. That's something I've noticed a lot from Daenerys. They really... Wow. Coast to coast. I'll sit on my laurels about the point I was going to bring up. Family just creates so much momentum. Sees the cut over and shoots as that shadow defense doesn't have enough time to set up. So well played there by family.
But you got to look at the defense as well in that occasion. Just about missed the beat of the play. It was just too wide on. Allowed there to be an opening when realistically that should have been a completely closed chance. Shot on for... Isn't going to make the same mistake twice. That's that save, and now it's Pio's to try and go from defense to offense. Does not manage to get this ball past that first man. Wazen is going to be able to get any follow-up touches, however, nor the bump either. So Fur is going to go alone. The spot was there. He doesn't make that catch. The ball comes out to this corner. And I was about to say it should be safely in the hands of Daenerys, but it feels like there's a bit of a hesitance to get this ball out. They've got their chance though. Now just a bomb needs to land. Quadzek, take it away. I know that this is right up your alley.
Oh, the pre-flip Goomba from Wazen. Are you kidding me? He predicts exactly where Viasbar is going to be, gets himself just far enough in front of the ball that he doesn't interrupt that path to the net. That is so well played by everybody involved. Pio's trying to get something going here, but Daenerys just looked too good right now. Phantom, I see you're in chat for SniR waiting for the winner here. I don't know if you want this Daenerys squad after what we just witnessed.
They are ferocious in this second game. We could get a taste for it in that first. But now, as we continue, and even as Joffel Brigade, I would say, have had an increase in class. daenerys have just improved themselves that little bit extra, so still they're profiting. Pioz's mind game does lead to Fer to get this ball up high. Certainly doesn't get that read. It's gonna have to be another one of these awkward chances to try and find your infielder. How about you go alone? Bart makes it look oh so simple off the ceiling. And credits, of course, have to be given to daenerys. But maybe this is going to be the goal to try and shift the tides.
Just able to bully his way through is Bart. Positions his car so that any rebound from daenerys ends up off of his hood and back into the net. He's done well there to give Joffel Brigade a tally on the scoreboard with plenty of time to rally the troops, get some momentum going. 2 minutes and some change for them to find two. Via's Bart now sending it all the way down the corner. He's going to chase it himself, and that might just be in. It will be. Booming shot from Wazen.
Sometimes it's just a pure simplicity of just booming this ball on target. And if there's no one there to catch it, they can place that ball back in the center and settle for that kickoff. It's a 3-goal difference so early into this second game. I often call it that double-edged sword, where the head start is conceded, but of course there is more time to try and claw yourselves back. But daenerys just do not seem like a roster but allow that comeback potential for their opponents.
You're 100% correct about that. I mean, they've played so well, and I want to highlight their clearances. It's why this team, the Joffel Brigade, has not had a ton of stalwart, long-winded offenses that drain Daenerys' boost. They are looking at one here, but that shot, you have to hit those if you're the Joffel Brigade. Going off the crossbar when your chances are few and far between, that can't happen. Pay attention to Daenerys here. When next time they're stuck in their half, if they're in the corner or on the side wall, okay, look. They got it done, Joffel Brigade. They finally did score. Two down now, but that really should have happened sooner because time on the clock matters a lot here too, Pig, for this comeback.
Absolutely. That fourth man now getting itself involved, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on every single one of these kickoffs. Your touches have to be perfect. Any spilled balls are seconds, important seconds drilled off the clock. Preshow, so early going to have to start from his own corner, gets himself a flip reset. It's not going to be enough for forward momentum for the coast to coast. So instead, going to have to continue to try and work it out of the box. But now Wazen defend that halfway line as if it's his net, and he'll learn himself that spot. But Via's Bart, it's his turn for the long range strike. Hold on. Lean forward and pay very, very close attention. This game is not over.
We do suddenly have ourselves one on our hands after that gimme. Joffel Brigade get one of their own back, a sniper goal, and now 48 seconds and 1 goal is an eternity of time in Rocket League, assuming they don't concede a freebie. That doesn't help that they're double committing on their own backboard. That's going to make things really difficult for Via's Bart, but he takes a good challenge and buys enough time for his teammates to get back. Dazen toying with it, going to cash in a flip reset, loft it towards the net, but Via's Bart will take over full tank of boost. He's going to drive it towards the net over almost the top of Family. He did so well there to get up to the top of that ball, and Daenerys deny that first offensive from Joffel Brigade.
Coming off that back wall again. The shot is on. Pios able to get to that clearance out, but they've still only got 10 seconds, and this ball's on the wrong half of the pitch. Kozfo has got the correct possession. Dazen lands that demo, and now it's going to be a much weakened defense. Via's Bart lets that one go over, and surely this hits the floor. Daenerys earn themselves a match point spot, which would of course get them that road to a grand final in sweeping success.
Man, you thought there was something there, and Joffel Brigade now staring down the barrel of a reverse sweep is going to make things pretty difficult. I mean, you just got to worry about the defensive side of things. For a team that, their first time on stream, really branded themselves as this defensive stalwart. They've had one too many goals that are just gimmies that really should have been saved. Daenerys, they do deserve their credit, but if Joffel Brigade's rotation is tighter, they're worrying about their back end more. I think they find success in that game number 2. But we'll go ahead and get ready for game number 3, where Daenerys can not just get their revenge, Pig, but earn it in sweeping fashion.
I hate to just focus on the past here, but you say that I thought there was a chance. There was a chance, flat out. They had so much time in those last 40 seconds to get a chance across them, and there were just these few little plays that they're not catching. If that's a little bit early into the game, if there was less pressure there, I don't believe they are missing some of those opportunities. They need to calm themselves down heading into the third, even if it's just have a little bit of fun instead in the comms instead of full focus, because something needs to change. Reverse sweeps are no easy feats, and this is where you've got to get a little bit experimental.
It's gotta happen now, or unfortunately it will happen never, or at least until next Redirect Monthly. And let's see what Joffel Brigade can pull out, because as you just mentioned, it should have happened. We should be in an even series right now, but Daenerys just a little bit more clutch. They were able to be more efficient. Joffel Brigade sort of crumbled late into that game when they should have had the mechanics to step up. They have an early offensive pressure here, 30 seconds in. No real shot to account for it, but it does look like they're attempting to come out of the gate swinging here as Pios almost takes that ball away from his teammate in Fur.
This is ball off the corner, Finley. Can't keep this ball down low. Will allow this ball to tap its way up. The bump doesn't land on Pios. All these little positions are just so vital. If the Joffel Brigade can get themselves off to a good start, that could be the initial burst that this roster requires. But gets through. Dazen, though, vital positioning to get this clearance out in the corner. If he just touches that ever so slightly, that's all going to be Joffel Brigade 1-0 up. Instead, it's Wazen go for the full court dribble. And I'm not sure how he was able to find this gap. But when there's a will, there is a way. And Wazen is going to be the one to find it.
Absolutely threading the needle to find the only opening that existed. Has to go crossbar and then does just that. And now potentially a double dip effort. No, it's going the other way. Fur on target on that challenge. I thought Family had a chance to find a flip in a 1v1, but Fur got the better of him there. Dazen now messing with it. He's going to go ahead and bide his time, as does Pios on that shadow defense, winning the ball in the corner as Fur climbing the ladder goes to the backboard. Does he have help? Nobody's there. The Joffel Brigade content to sit back and replenish their boost totals.
Back down here in the corner. Goes. Keeps it close. He recognizes that he does have space in front. Sends it high. Has to rely on that second man. Get there faster. Instead, it all falls neutral. And the 50. Much against the Joffel Brigade. That was a scary ball to send towards the center. But he was confident with how low he had that ball that he was going to be invincible as long as he timed his 50 right. Finley tries to get that near post pass. It does come off that back wall. The Esport is required to get that awkward touch because you can see the Daenerys player just waiting outside the box to get that strike on. That is on target. Saved by the Esport. Going to be a huge asset defensively.
That ball stayed in the air for forever. Basically, everybody on the pitch was able to replenish their tanks. Family over the top of one. Wazen jumping to try to bump somebody out of the way. Won't connect there as Dazen now into the corner. We're reaching a point where this game's going to hit a standstill here, Pig. Both these teams really don't want to make a mistake. You could tell by their positioning. Nobody wants to be on the ball. They all want to be a second and third insurance factor. Look at how deep Pios is playing. I mean, he gets the save there, but realistically, he should never be that far back in that rotation.
And some men forward. They've struggled to pick up the goals in this series. Double tap comes through! And that's the one that comes out! But with such a tough double tap to try and land, Dazen commits so early towards that play. It just leaves that near post completely open. Fair play to Bart. That's what you call a momentum builder. But you've got 1 minute 40, and the quality simply is not enough.
Goes. I think this is really dangerous here. Okay, he wins the first 50, but immediately loses possession. That one, nobody right off the corner, but it's danger now in front. Via's Bart, really good save. Family trying to keep it going, keep it in the Joffel Brigade half. Pio's collecting the boost and the ball, climbing the ladder, losing the Dazen though, as he's going to spend all the boost to try to find a double. That ball will ramp up though, and nobody will make contact. Pils will take back over. Both these teams fighting over possession in the midfield. My co-caster would say that's the true EU way to play Rocket League. Wazen over here in the corner. Nobody connects on it. How many times are we going to fan on the ball? For jumping save. Wazen drop down. Got the flip reset. Is he going to use it? He's going to wait to land on the ground, and after all of that action, nobody can break any direction. Joffel Brigade can't clear it. Daenerys can't score.
Here's Bart. Gets that clearance out. 50 seconds could be the final seconds of regulation. If Daenerys are able to increase their side of the pitch, ball forward, Via's Bart. Again, that final line of defense is required. Once more, just off that crossbar, and oh my goodness! How have they not fallen behind? Counter-attack on 10 seconds, a double commit off Daenerys, not enough power within the team pinch to see the back of the net. But Dazen knows this offense is not over yet. It is now. OT arrives, and it has to be Joffel Brigade or bust.
Oh, no way. No way! That's how it ends! Joffel Brigade gets such a clutch reset, they can finally take a deep breath, and it's a kickoff goal that Daenerys puts into the blue net to clinch their ticket into the grand finals and send the Joffel Brigade home, who the Joffel Brigade initially won and sent Daenerys down to the lower bracket.
Fascinating. We are going to have a Seed 1 versus Seed 2 grand finals. It has been such a tough march for Joffel Brigade to reach this deep in the tournament in the first place, so credit definitely has to be given. But one team was able to refuel their coal, get themselves a little bit of extra steam to march themselves forward, and another started to run out of it. But building up for this grand finals, it is what the seeding wanted. It makes Hazza very happy as well. Redirect Hazza, who did the seeding in the first place. That's all of those systems are working. But in a way, it's what we wanted to see as well, Con. We've already seen how the Joffel Brigade does shape up against that side already in Grands, and it wasn't great in that upper final, but now with a different flavor with Daenerys as those opponents in a matchup that hasn't been seen at all today. This could be one to stick around for, and we'll see how long that initial game advantage is able to last.
Yeah, I think Daenerys, they won in a large enough manner that I do think we should have a very good series on our hands, and whether or not that first one is a warm-up game for SniR as it was previously, we shall see. But I do agree with you. We have a fantastic series on the way. Grand finals, best of 7. One series yet to go. You don't go anywhere.
European Rocket League is blessed with many tournaments running across the RLCS ecosystem. However, the most important, of course, is the Redirects 3v3 Monthly. We have got players here today that could have been playing in day 2 of EU RLCS, but I'm sure by their own virtue knew there was bigger fish to fry. It is going to be time for the grand finals. It will be SniR Esports versus daenerys. It is myself, Sir Pegasus, joined by Quantac.
You know, SniR Esports won pretty handily over the Joffel Brigade, and daenerys also won in a sweep over the Joffel Brigade. What that means, I don't know. All I know is that this is a matchup that we haven't seen before. I'm excited to see these two teams face off against each other. I think it'll be a great series. And unfortunately for that one member in Rocket Yo's chat, we do have 5 French players on the pitch.
We do indeed, and a French speaker to round it off as well. It's going to be the Belgian on the side of SniR Esports, Taskin rounding off our roster alongside Wires and Thanto. For daenerys, it is going to be the wonderful Dazen and Wazen alongside family. We're going to call him Dazen at certain moments because, come on, when you've got teammates like that, you've got to keep it up. But to speak about keeping it up, they close to swept their way into this grand. SniR Esports did technically win 3 games in a row. They dropped that first one just for fun, and now with a 1-game advantage heading their way and their opponents not necessarily being the litmus test we would have liked to compare these two rosters, it is uncharted ground and just that advantage really to go off of.
Yeah, I mean, that game advantage could be the difference, realistically, between these two teams. If, you know, we are in a vacuum and just extrapolating whatever we can out of the 2 game results between the common opponent between these two teams, theoretically, we should have like a 6 or 7 game series here. That was not intentional, I promise. And now with that game advantage in SniR Esports' favor, assuming they don't use it as a warm-up game, it could mean the world of difference if they can get to that 2 or 3 win threshold sooner, and that, you know, their work is cut down significantly less. It will be super crucial.
Absolutely, and they've got lots of potential to be able to hold off all these fantastic plays on our screen, but we've got a wonderful place to collate all those fantastic plays we've seen in Redirects 3v3 Monthlies, and that is, of course, for TikTok. Please, everyone, please, I'm begging so hard. Exclamation mark TikTok in chat. Please drop a follow. We need to get to 50 followers so that we are able to stream future Redirects 3v3 Monthlies over there. But if you go over, you will see there's already plenty of content from previous monthlies that is going to be constantly posted and updated. Every 2 days, I believe, there will be an added post to the mix. So make sure to keep in touch. But there is only a 23 difference between these two teams if we're going by their average MMR, with daenerys over that 2k mark and SniR Esports just behind it. But the gameplay so far has spoken for itself to say that this could be a very tight matchup. It is C2 versus Seed 1. It is the grand finals, ladies and gentlemen, and for these two sides, there's no greater opportunity to earn the title of a Redirect 3v3 champion. The bubble rises up. European talent shows its depth. Let's go. It's time for the grand finals. Both rosters full of French speakers, and for a long time they have dominated every single competitive ladder that exists in Europe. That is maintained, that is proven from today's performances, but who can be the team on top? It's hard to pick through all these talents when you can only have 3 players call themselves champions.
That's a good save to start. On the side of daenerys, Dazen with an in-and-out squishy save. SniR Esports trying to get on the board early here as Wazen denied by Taskins. There's Fanto. I mean, okay. Both these teams just content to play ping pong back and forth with one another. A little bit of feeling out going on here just to see how they're playing. As we talked in our pregame, this is the first time either one of these rosters are running into one another, and as such, there's always going to be that period where they introduce themselves formally and see what the other is bringing to the table. As we are a minute in, it's just that one opening shot to show for it. 3 members all involved there on that play for daenerys, and yet they don't contribute to a shot on target.
Wires takes his ball high, flip, sets to sneak it under, but that ball bounces up off that crossbar. The second shot has to come in. It's certainly a formal introduction, but by no means was it polite. Top corner strike. I wish we could know what a peak power was behind that shot. Instead, it comes perfectly off the crossbar and the post at the very same time. That's the definition of what we would call in the UK top bins.
There was so much power generated, had that close to the goal. From not even a pinch, it was just a shot that went off the corner of Taskin's car, and he did really well to generate that much power behind it. That pass intentionally wide of the net. No, he didn't want to generate a shot, just keep possession. But that pinch really well read by a member of SniR Esport, sending Vanley all the way back to his corner over the top of 2. He's done difficult work to enable daenerys in, but instead it's Wazen all alone on the island. Good challenge. Wires will take over though with a full tank of boost into the corner. They'll stay with it. Shot on, and that one skitters across the goal line and somehow stays out for SniR.
They're so good at finding those shots that are just tucking inside the woodwork. Here's another crossbar. That one doesn't go on target initially, but Wires gets the job done. What was our one complaint about SniR in the upper bracket? A lack of efficiency. Not enough accuracy behind their strikes. That has all been thrown out the window here for the grand final. Every shot has been so close to perfection, and the defense has to be perfect as a result.
Man. Yeah, I mean, look. SniR are not sleepy like they were in the previous series we saw them. They are out here swinging, but daenerys don't want to fumble this one early. Going down 2-0 in the best of 7 series, it's not the end of the world, but it makes your climb back all the more difficult. Fanto towards the back wall. Family just going to pop it up and allow his teammate Wazen to take over, but all 3 players leave the net, and Wires actually was able to get possession first. Wazen will twirl with it in the air and dish that one over to Family, who pops it up for Wazen. A lot of boost used to only travel about 20 meters up the pitch. Fanto laying down on top of that. Now here comes Wazen, having daezen down the line, trying to create some sort of commotion. Family going for a bump, forces Fanto high. His teammate went under, but the back check from SniR able to collect the save.
They tight within that 1 goal difference. And for daenerys, our first seed, hasn't been the finest of starts in SniR Esports. Far and away, looking like the stronger side, looking like the team that could have extended this lead more than it already stands. Looks for that team pinch. Doesn't go on target, but that could be a gorgeous setup. Finally gets in the way for that first ball. Wires. It's that flip reset off that corner. Musty vote. It's a bit of an overcook for my liking. I don't know when that play is dead, and it certainly wasn't that occasion. That is a gorgeous little catch from Task. And Wires sees through his teammates' play. This is telepathic. And daezen simply cannot keep up.
And this goes to show we highlighted in the previous series how you can't single out a single member of SniR. They're all lethal, and the chemistry coming out in droves there on that 3rd goal for SniR. Task tees it up for his teammate, doesn't dibble with the ball at all, just allows his teammate to come to him, and that creates that 3rd goal. A second go-ahead here for SniR. Task trying to bump somebody out of the way. Wires nearly bullying his way through, and the boost at critical levels currently for daenerys. You see 2 of them with negligible counts. Manley finally tops back up, but this is a clearance that goes over the midfield line, task towards an open net, and he's nailed the hardest shot in the game. 4-1 SniR.
And you could see this one a little bit ahead of time. Daenerys was so committal in their offense. There was just no one left behind. The player that went for the ball actually ended up being that last man back. Those positions where you want that bit of safety behind you alongside it. Otherwise, well, you'll sit in a position where you do right now. 4-1. Looks to turn to 5. Wires has been given a very, very simple ball to put away. And credits to Fanso, but Wazen on the reverse. They don't want to commit to a half flick too early. And once you don't commit to it and you're on that back wall, you've locked yourself into that really slow journey on which he was going to be beaten to 100% of the time. 5-1. SniR Esports. This is looking like a team deserving of that championship.
You know, they haven't really missed a beat. They've picked up exactly where they left off here, Pig and SniR, where their final games against their previous opponent, it was 5-1, 6-2. It was this level of scoreline. And despite being in the grand finals now against the #1 seed, they're continuing that rate. What really should have been 6-1 there, it will stay 5-1, but SniR, they look, dare I say, unstoppable? I mean, there's not just one, not two, but 3 elements of their game in every single phase of the pitch that need answers to from Daenerys. And I don't know if they're going to find them soon enough.
And we spoke about the balance of this roster. Here it is yet again. 14 shots total. Again, not a single goal coming unassisted either. These are players that know how to use each other to the best of their abilities. They know where their strengths in gameplay are. But for me, the one goal that really helps encapsulate everything that SniR Esports is about was that unbelievable catch they were able to pick up halfway through the game, where there was a player waiting right behind them to send themselves forward. Here it is from Task. That is just pure insanity. And when you do have that communication with your team, for the defense, they can't hear your comms. There are a few options that you can go for in that position. He could have flicked it up high early. He could have tried to take it himself. He could have slammed it down and gone for a reverse 50 if he really wanted to. But in the minds of SniR, there was one plan they were going for. And by the time Daenerys can work out what that plan is going to be, it's in the back of the net. Reset, get yourself in kickoff position.
Keeping your opposition on their toes, making sure that they're guessing all the way down until that shot actually happens. You take away their ability to, not react to that shot. If they're proactive, they're able to get in position before it ever transpires. That's what SniR's trying to avoid, and they've done just that. They've earned themselves a 2-game advantage here, considering they came in with 1. And a win here means that Daenerys is staring down. They're looking at a reverse sweep just to win in SniR. Only 11 seconds in, setting the tone.
What a back pass, though, from Fonso again. And the fact that Wires is already making that run towards the back post, anticipating that his teammate is going to send that straight back to him. By the way, as the last man on the roster as well, is just simply incredible. SniR Esports are a team about creating options. We speak about teams being 1 or 2 dimensional. It is 5D and more when you're watching SniR. This time, though, force their hand to play this ball towards the corner. Inside pass Wise is there. Fonso is going to be the wider option to get it off that corner. Someone's already up for this play, and it is going to be Task. He is credited with the shot. No saves forced out, though, behind it. Ball sits in the center. And both teams just compete for possession.
What is the 5th dimension? I have a really rough understanding of what the 4th is, but you said they're the 5th dimension and higher. I don't know what that is. I couldn't begin to explain what's going on. All I know is that Daenerys are moving up their own dimensionality currently playing in 3D. They're looking to elevate to 4th as they do score that equalizer, and they still need one more level to try to be on SniR Esports caliber, at least with the rate that they're currently playing at. That one, good pass off the sidewall, turns into a heater towards the net. Wires was in position to collect the quality save.
I would say open your eyes if you want the answers. SniR Esports' gameplay is exactly that. Off that back wall, Task ends up resorting to the ceiling. It was a back pass attempted, and daenerys are just sat with the handbrake on. All three players just waiting in what are the default defensive positions against a team that is definitely not playing the default form of Rocket League. They're so out of book. At times they seem confused as to how you are supposed to commit towards this ball. You want to send this ball forward. There's a player waiting right there to collect it straight afterwards, and they're going to play that ball anyway. The fake's coming out for Tars, refusing to go for the A plan of just that initial shot. Another fake comes out, and Task is in this front post. This is insanity. Again, off the ceiling, does not catch, pitches forward, but Task is more than prepared to round off this defense.
And despite how good that offensive was from SniR, we do have to give some flowers to daenerys for hanging in. They had basically no boost for that entire sequence, and they are still not allowing a goal to drop in the bucket. Another epic save collected, another clearance here from Family, and they are just clawing tooth and nail to try to stay in this at equal footing. One apiece. I guarantee you shots are almost double digits at this point for SniR, and yet they cannot cash in a second.
Great catch here, though, by Fonto. And I believe he had a reset as well. Didn't choose to use it. Wires picks his first man. Again, the mind games are just constant from SniR. And the offensive pressure certainly has been as well, but they know they like to send a lot of men forward. And one counter-attack from daenerys could certainly change the dynamics of this matchup. Here it is, it's Wazen. Efficient, 2 shots, 2 goals. The shots aren't aplenty, but he's made every single one count.
Ask and you shall receive. Wazen scores, assisted by Dazen, and daenerys just had to hold on tight. They found a single play, a single shot. One shot, one opportunity. 2-1. Go daenerys, and somehow they are in the driving seat despite being completely sealed in the crease in front of their net for nearly the entirety of the game. What a touch by Fanto. Unfortunately, nobody there to help him capitalize that pass. Wazen gonna collect himself off the top ropes, and Dazen will push it along further. That's a mistouch. A little bit greedy from Task, going for the full boost, but not able to squeeze it in there was daenerys.
It goes off high. That waterfall does drop down for daenerys. Plays it straight after the bounce. A bit of a double commit here in the corner, but they've been able to weave their way out of the position from Wires. Let's see this ball out inside. The goalkeeper is tested on the side of SniR Esports, but ultimately he is able to pass. Still, though, they need a lot more of a defense now. 50 seconds left. They've had a lot of the offense this game, but they've only found the back of the net once, and their punishment is just trying to get themselves out of their own defensive box. That one looked scary. There were shark-infested waters amongst the 6-yarder, and daenerys have come to sink their teeth into SniR Esports.
The first real time SniR was tested defensively, really this series. They couldn't find a clearance. Task fumbled that pinch in the corner, and then had to catch it and lose all momentum, and a clear attempt, I believe, from Fanto just ended up right in the waiting arms of a member from daenerys, and things are going from bad to worse as Wazen collects his hat trick on the day, and he has goal participation, I believe, in the 4th one that wasn't scored by him.
That was such a good strike from him, though. Straight into that top corner. Left absolutely zero room for error. And ultimately, setting themselves a standard for the rest of this series, where SniR looked like they were going to run away with it, Quad. And they really did. They looked like the unstoppable team in this tournament. Well, they have been stopped and that little bit extra, and that's only really come from the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the jury's still out, though, on whether or not it's been Daenerys playing well or SniR being their own worst enemy. They played lights out to start this game. They couldn't score. They lost momentum, and it's like they've forgotten how to move the sticks on their controller mechanically. They're not playing at the level that they should be. And Daenerys was just there to capitalize time and time again. There weren't quality shots being put in. There were just shots thrown at the net that went in because nobody from SniR could save it. And now, Daenerys get a very clutch game victory, where the series is 2-1 as opposed to 3-0 in their opposition's favor. And they have a fighting chance to rally back here.
But we talk about how important it is to qualify through that upper bracket. This is one of those series where more than ever, the impact is truly there. We've got players that are not as experienced as those we would have in other redirect 3v3 monthlies, and they would say about themselves, because those players that usually are playing in a 3v3 monthlies are competing their way through day 2 and day 3 of EU right now. And that advantage for SniR Esport is the only thing keeping them in the lead right now. There have been 2 played games. The last one really did not go well for them. Yet still, they can maintain just the handle of this game. Whether that's ripped away from them is going to be decided by these next 5 minutes. They've got to put themselves on not only match point, it's going to be tournament point in the greatest opportunity ever for a team to pick themselves up a redirect 3v3 championship, and SniR Esports look to make that count.
You're 100% right. I mean, the door is open. It's the best opportunity they're going to have to collect the game victory, because the talent levels are differently. It should not be squandered, and they're going to make sure they get back on the horse at least early here. Task putting in a goal. 1-0 goes SniR. This is how they started last game. An early goal out the gates. They kept on the shots, but Daenerys was able to tilt the seesaw back the other direction. What do SniR do to keep momentum in their favor?
We haven't really had a game yet where it's felt two-sided. The first 2 have been dominant by either side that ends up picking up a victory. Of course, Daenerys, they did have to wait half a match for that to be the case, but once it was decisive, my goodness, did they run away with it. And more! More is what he'd be calling for. But that's within his own boost counts. Yes, not enough in the tank to find the top corner, but a pause has been called. Oh, never mind, he's back. Bonzo just gonna have to settle with that goal standing. I believe that disconnect happened as that goal was in the back of the net regardless. So we will be fine moving forward. That's going to be a frustrating way to concede both for SniR. And whether that starts to fester and grows in intensity is very reliant on who picks up goal 3.
You know, it's a really well-played shot from Daenerys. I do think it was savable, though, by Task if that jump is timed better. Understand he has nothing in the tank, but holding down your jump button, one of the rare mechanics that nobody really ever uses because it's not really needed, but you can get some extra elevation under that initial jump. Wires seeing if he can pull things back into his team's favor. Does flip it towards the net. Family going to send it back the other way, but in doing so will lose possession. Tic-tac-toe set up between the back end, but Fanto, instead of his own teammate, found a orange card to be that recipient. Good demo there by Phantos. Can stay on this ball, but won't connect on the flip. This means danger for Task once again, all alone defensively. In this one, there's no getting around. There is no saving if you're just removed from the pitch entirely.
Oh, plays that so simple, but it is so effective. Initially, he saw that backboard was completely undefended, and I do truly believe in my hearts of hearts concept that that was his initial strategy. But as soon as he realized that ball was a little bit low, Saw he could go for more. Ends up pulling off that demo. And now Daenerys from the Jaws of Death have managed to pull themselves back out. Vonto can't get a touch here. Task is on towards that right wall. Doesn't manage to get it back inside. This is going to be an awkward ball off that back. Still gets that clearance beautifully out wide. And that's going to give them a moment of recovery. The demo, though, from Daenerys will look to weaken this attack. The mind game, though, looks to take another player out of the game in a completely different manner. But it is a very, very weak offense coming from SniR Esport. Daenerys' chance looked a little bit more favorable, but the defense was there to match the quality.
Daenerys is falling back into what? Oh my, diving save by Wazen, using his own post in order to make sure that one stays out. Barely got his grill of his car on that in order to keep it out of his own net. Wazen around the corner. That's a great downfield pass to Wires, trying for the far side of the net. Well read by Daenerys. And that demo means it's a 2v1. The respawning Task will be the only one back defensively, but he can't react in time. 3-1. Go the Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones stands. That's what I was trying to aim for. Yes.
Certainly. Where has this come from, by the way? Where has this come from for Daenerys? Sure, we got a little bit of a taste of it in that lower finals. But it was after they had already faced defeat to a team that SniR Esports were able to compete against very fiercely in the upper finals themselves. And in that first game, you think about how dominant that was from SniR Esports overall. I didn't know if Daenerys had it in the tank to keep themselves going, but this is the extra bit of heart that you see from a team that bites back from lowers. Personality starts to shine through, but cast off SniR Esports is a player that loves to maintain that fight.
Really well played by Task, just being patient, out waiting Dazen until that pass down center of the net can officially connect. 3-2 now is the scoreline, and I do agree with you that Daenerys has seemingly come out of nowhere, but I will be honest and say that I'm still not convinced. Ooh. To me, this is still not Daenerys playing well. This is just SniR playing poorly. Daenerys have been faster, and they're finding clearances, but SniR are really... they're not contesting the balls they should be, and I don't think their positioning has been great in games 2 and 3 of this series, and just like that, once they're on the ball, if they're actually challenging the play, I think they can be in this game, and they do just that to make it 3-all.
Coach Konzek is impressed with that last goal, and I just stand by the mechanics that were behind it. A musty flick, the dunk as well against that man. Keep the ball in an impactful position. Never going to be easy, but now with 40 seconds left to drop, it's feeling close to a must-win, in my opinion, for Daenerys. You do not want to concede that match point position. 3 in a row is the same requirements as a reverse sweep in a best of 5, and we know how tough that can be, but Daenerys is not interested in that outcome whatsoever. The lead is regained, and SniR Esports are back on the chasing end.
It's a really hopeful ball out from Task, trying to connect on his defender, and an even more ambitious leap from their third man. Good heads-up play by Daenerys to intercept that pass, find a little pot flick forward to create that little bit of extra space, and generate an open net where SniR has really opened the door to enable you to find a go-ahead goal late. And once more, another open net. Daenerys are just capitalizing on SniR Esports' mistakes. And this is why I'm saying I'm not convinced. They're doing really well to make sure they're scoring when SniR makes a mistake, but Daenerys themselves are not creating these offensive chances. With that being said, Daenerys are winning. This is not me saying like, oh, they shouldn't be winning. They definitely deserve to be winning. It's just if SniR's playing 100% and Daenerys is playing 100%, I don't know if it goes in their favor, but SniR are blundering all across the pitch. It's like I'm watching 200 Elo chess currently.
it's about what's enough in any given position, right, Quan? Right now, Daenerys are giving enough to beat this version of SniR Esports. But we know the version of SniR Esports that would guarantee themselves a monthly championship in their favor. And so far, that has somewhat fallen asleep in the last few games, I guess you could say. Daenerys have definitely upped the tempo, and SniR Esports have dropped it. But should they get back to that former glory, like we saw earlier in today's action, what was enough for Daenerys now leaves you begging for a little bit extra.
Well, we are all tied up. SniR have burned the advantage that they came into the grand finals with, so we are effectively playing a single best of 3 from here on out between these two teams. Everybody at 2 apiece. First to 4 will be victorious, and at this rate, it really could be anybody. You're seeing glimpses from either team. Daenerys have just been the more consistent. And I think at the level that this grand final is being played at, that is really all that matters as it stands currently.
Absolutely. Well, we speak about games being the swings in the matchup. This is definitely going to be one of them. Put yourself on championship point. Give yourself that extra burst of confidence. You have to give it your absolute all. Dazen off the ceiling. Let's get that reset, but Wazen's already up for it to try and find the target. Task leaves this ball to go under. Did intend to get himself a touch. It was just a slight miscalculation on his part. Back out for Fonso. Dropped off early here by Daenerys, but Task not going to allow any opportunities at net. Lots of competition in the neutral thirds of the pitch, but now in the finals of SniR Esports, Daenerys I've ended up watching an opportunity go awry, and Task has just created one out of the blue, and it will be the Blues to get this game started.
That's so well done by Task. He even has 2 members of Daenerys bumping into each other with how fluid he was on the ground there. The dribble play, arguably unmatched. That's not the first time we've seen him create nothing. Or something out of nothing, excuse me, not nothing out of something. That would be poor, but he has just added a highlight reel goal to his array in this tournament. Fanto going to double dip, and SniR Esport, they are gonna see if they can stay ahead of the pressure this time around in game number 4.
Is this what we're destined for SniR Esports? They're like a firecracker. Of course, very, very dangerous, but someone has to set the fuse. And Daenerys have set the fuse now on SniR, and all of a sudden it is explosions all around, flashes of colour everywhere. There's flare back into their play, they're finding the target, there's power behind it. Wires wants to make it free, he doesn't in this position. But this is a team coming back to life, which was a sleeping giants for what, 10-15 minutes? That's not usually what that title's reserved for.
They have awoken. Let's see if it's just a flash in the pan or if it's something more long-standing that SniR can build on and use as the foundation to return to levels they were once at previously. Dazen trying to find a flick, denied by Task. This might go in from one end of the pitch to the other. Finley got back, got demoed for his efforts, but now Wazen is weaving around the entire defense of SniR Esport. Dazen, double commit with his teammate means that there's going to be a long period with no pressure, and that's a good challenge by Dazen to enable himself not be in a hole defensively left on an island, as we'll go from one corner of the pitch to a second, all the way to a third now, as SniR will collect in their back left.
Finley up here to Wazen, doesn't have a free backboard. It's a gorgeous catch coming from Task, and has his work cut out for him to get it out of his own half. Ball remains in Daenerys' favour. The demo comes through, no one's there available inside. Wazen It's too late towards that ball, but he's got players behind him to fill in those gaps regardless. So no immediate counter-attacking opportunities. A bit of work is required, and Task is certainly up for his namesake, Dazen. Beautiful first touch. Looks for the reset. Doesn't get the pop over, however, so Task can just buy his time, get this ball out. A bump start coming through, and now SniR Esport of a team with all the eggs in their basket. Task just going to have to take this one to a corner.
Task climbing the ladder. A big 50, and both these members, I mean, their attempts to clear the ball have been unrequited from their opposition. Manto can't collect there in the corner. There's those small mechanical errors that seem to be creeping into the psyche of SniR once more. Will they falter enough to enable daenerys back in? That shot north of the bar. SniR quick to send that out of their half. Want to avoid the danger that was lurking nearby. They weren't able to sleep. As collecting his family, not a ton of boost, and that's a good tee up from Task to Fanto. Demoed one, almost two, but won't find a third on the board.
Oh.
Task will, though, and he has stepped up to the plate here in game 4. That's a hat trick.
And it does feel like the third goal's going to be the charm. This is going to be a tough chase for daenerys with 49 seconds remaining. All of a sudden, momentum falls to Les Bleus. And daenerys, again, are back in that chasing spot. Drops down off that back wall. What was enough in the games previous is no longer the case. They need to increase the gears. They have to do it fast. This grand final is slipping through their fingertips.
Wazen whirling with it. I mean, daenerys, it's just too little too late at this point. They need 1 every 5 seconds. Make that, what, 1 every 4 and just under 4 seconds? 3.75 seconds. SniR have found their namesake. They're playing at the level that we expect from them at this point, Pig. I mean, how many times have we seen them win by a goal differential of 4 or more? They let the game slip away from them in the previous 2, but looking like they're back in form. daenerys, though, trying to grab a little bit of momentum before we officially enter game number 5.
We have seen a few of these grand finals, especially in the recent months of the Redirect 3v3 Monthly, head towards that Game 6, Game 7 spot. And this definitely feels like one of those series that could go the full distance. But this is definitely going to be a two-sided coin. There are times where we are left just wanting more out of one team, or just expecting that if one team doesn't drop their standard, then the result is guaranteed. Whereas in this case, it very much just could be daenerys stepping it up or SniR Esports dropping it down. We've seen it from both rosters now. The distance between their floors and their ceilings are so vast. But now you've got to reach that ultimate height and have those two hands around the trophy and earn yourself a title of Redirect 3v3 Monthly number 31 champion. One step away for SniR. Still a perfect 2 required for daenerys.
That's a really good way to put it. The level, the range that these two teams have between their floor and their ceiling is so immense. It's multiple. You're taking an elevator in a skyscraper. You could be in the parking garage, or you could be in the penthouse. And SniR need a way to stay at that level, to play up in the penthouse, because we've seen them arguably go through the parking garage a couple of times. They've completely lost the plot, and daenerys need 2 frames now of near perfect Rocket League that, frankly, I think they can find. They've played really well at times, just poised. They look like the more poised roster at times, whereas SniR shot out of a cannon, for better or for worse. They're going to make plays happen, whether they come back to bite them or work in their favor. All of this, though, will be decided either now on Neo Tokyo or in our next game on Champions Field.
Let's hope that there has been some work done in the garage, because there is a need for speed for Daenerys. And so far, there's an early nitro pop to Wazen. Staying at that corner allows this ball back up for Funley. Again, and I say this so many times, but between these two teams, it does feel paramount that first goal is going to give them such a burst of confidence. It's a big boom forward here by Wires. And Daenerys just have to make it work from their own third. They've been the team with all the possession in these first 45 seconds, but we're past that kickoff stage now, and SniR Esports have now awoken. Important miss coming out. That shot's on target. It's a hard save to try and make. They should have been in this tough position in the first place. One mistake can make those house of cards come crashing down all at once. But ultimately, they both survive.
Task gets absolutely ground pounded there by Dazen on his way down. It won't amount to anything, though. Daenerys had a free possession and just filtered that one into the corner. Good touch by Wazen. Double, he read it. Couldn't get around it, though, for that shot, and that's a very tricky pinch that SniR has just managed to find. Dazen, flip forward as this one will pinball around a couple cars on the pitch. Wazen, good double, looking for help. Dazen can't get there before Task can. And Vanto finds a really good challenge. This one floating in front, far side, off the post and back out. The fourth man coming up big for Daenerys.
The French really know how to compete in Rocket League. And what a grand finals they've given us so far. For these 3 minutes of regulation, look to be all that remains for SniR Esports. Daenerys need to perform to make sure that is not the case. And so far, they've certainly had their moments. Well, again, that's two-sided. First seed versus the second. Vanley coming up, locked off that first chance. Task has to cut it down in this corner. Looks to try and burn down as much boost of their opponents as possible. But instead, there's plenty of resources for the Daenerys offense. Now turned for Vanley.
Wires drop down. That's a really interesting play he's found to himself. A little bit of a ground pass. Uses a lot of boost to accomplish it, but did get his goal done. Task trying to find a pinch center off the sidewall. Vanto, all the time in the world. What will he do with it? Not enough, in my opinion, as that one goes straight to the back wall and possession over to Daenerys. Now from one corner to the other. Here's Vanto off the ceiling. Gets around the ways and Task a little bit slow up into the air, but SniR still maintaining this possession. That's a good demo onto the goalkeeper. But Daenerys are just able to fill the spots that have been forced open by SniR so seamlessly. He's in a little bit of trunk tap on towards the net of SniR, and now it's Daenerys' turn. Can they get something going? Can they find the go-ahead goal when we haven't had one for 3.5 minutes? Off the post and back out. Still dangerous, though, and it will wiggle its way in for Daenerys.
My goodness. Just when you think it's over. Just when you think another speller cannot be thrown in the works. As the ball knocked off his own teammate. Back outside the box. And Daenerys looked to push us all the way to 7.
Wires bumped off, weighs in towards the net, off the bar, back out, and that will be an insurance goal. A much needed one at that. SniR just really no agency in the second half of this game, and a really good bump onto Wires to enable that pressure to mount.
2 goals to Daenerys. SniR Esports might be forced in the most pressurizing position. If this continues to unfold, there's the third. Surely it's guaranteed. Surely we're going to see those hallowed grounds Quantec. Is Champions Field going to return to the monthlies again?
It seems like it's a foregone conclusion at this point. SniR have to stop the slide and find 3 goals at that. Dazen bumped off by Vanto. Wires towards the net. Has to stay on this to try to generate some sort of shot, but nearly tap it towards that back wall. Good possession by Task towards the infield. Vanto tried for it, but defense from daenerys stepped up. I like SniR that their heart is in this. They're fighting all the way to the end. That's a great downfield pass. Wires can't wrap around it. That should have been at least one on the board for SniR.
Back in the corner of Task, and you see that early jump coming through. They need to get desperate at this point. They want it done here on Neo Tokyo. Well, those efforts aren't looking to result to naught. 20 seconds on the clock. And now this just feels like a bit of an extra warm-up. Some more time spent with their opponents that ultimately will not change the tides of this game. It is official. It is confirmed in the Redirect Monthly, which is your best opportunity to pick up a championship. They're going to Champions Field.
You know, it's only fitting, right, Pig? And we talked about before the series started that this had the makings, this had the energy of a series that would go the distance, and daenerys have well earned their spot in a Champions Field. They've found their footing. They've played like the better team in these last few games. SniR, again, there's glimpses of it, but the consistency is just not there. It's full glass cannon out of SniR Esport. They're either going to score a lot or have a lot scored on them, and it seems like there is no in between. And we're at a point now where one final game to rule them all, Pig. Everything they've played for up until this point does not matter. It's the beauty of Champions Field. That game advantage has been burned. The lower bracket run from daenerys does not matter. It's one game, 5 minutes of regulation Rocket League, OT if needed for a victor.
And every single game has felt like a complete refresh of these two rosters.
Yes.
Dominance one time, not looking as hot in the other, and that has been from both of these rosters. So when you already have that refresh potential between all of these 5 minutes of regulation, how about we add a little bit of Chemical X? It's Champions Field. You can feel the atmosphere between these two teams. It is one of revenge now after all the games that have passed, and one to try and earn themselves that top spot. Fonto on that side tries to trump it down to Task. This is the one for all the marbles, Quan.
It's the only one that matters. Great infield pass. Fanto! No! I thought he had it from that angle, but it ends up wide left. SniR. They've been early game merchants throughout this entire tournament, and I say merchant, but I mean it in a very respectful way. They've been able to generate goals so much earlier than their opposition, but it won't happen now as this flick towards the sky almost sinks its way in. Chances on either end, and yet our seal will remain unbroken. Zeros across the scoreboard.
You've got to be able to hold your nerves. Dazen has to be composed in front of Neb, but imagine the pressure. The player in his goal line. You don't want to be that last man beaten to concede the goal. That sees you take home silver. Task booms this one forward. Takes absolutely zero risk. Looks to try and chase this ball as well off the back. A little bit of American football action, I guess you could say. Wazen lays this one off. There's going to be no one inside for that pass. Instead, possession completely overturned, and that's given them all the opportunity and more for finally to open up the scoring in style. A double off the ground, two defenders is simply not enough.
I am concerned in our first minute and a half about SniR's positioning rotation-wise. They are playing so far off the ball when their teammates on it, giving daenerys so much space that possessions lost. They're uncontested through the midfield. And I don't think it's going to work with how clinical daenerys can be sometimes. That's how that first goal was scored. I think they got to shape up real quick, otherwise they're going to be in a world of hurt here.
Already 2 minutes burned off of 5. daenerys just with that 1 goal advantage. There have been moments where this series has fallen into very high scoring affairs, but often that's been repetition of one side of the pitch. Will that be the case yet again? Can daenerys completely run away with it? That is not the greatest touch coming from Wise, and the positioning from the second and third just isn't in place. It made it a bit too easy for daenerys, and that theme again of just being enough to punish the mistakes of your opponents falls to the favor of Varseed 1.
Fanto's in a really good spot here. If he kept that ball close to his chest, would have had a lot more success, I think. Allowed his team to press up. Task, ball, and full boost acquired. He has Wires lying in the wait. Drop down pass, he's still on it. Can't complete his ascension towards that ball, as this one across the noses of 4 different cars. Nobody can make contact. Family loses that possession over to Fanto. As Task corrals, has a teammate in front of him clearing the space, and that's one way to do it. That's one way to force momentum back in your favor, is just remove the goalie. Great shot calling by SniR, and enables them to have plenty of time to rally back into this game.
And I was going to say it, and already it's been proven on the pitch, as much as there is a task required out of SniR Esports, daenerys have to make sure they lock down their defense. They've already let one slip through. They've earned themselves that insurance already. Now that that is burnt, with 2 minutes left on the clock, I'd be looking for another to add extra. Like a 2-goal difference is what they're looking to aim for, because goals definitely haven't been strangers in this grand final affair. Hanley manages to recover for that 50. I thought he was going to be completely beat. Instead, SniR Esports have been forced to make so much extra effort come out of their defense. Can't catch this one. Task tries to keep it low. Finally gets it over. Fonto has to chase behind, and now daenerys are on the front foot, and more vital than a chance at net again is, of course, that timer trickling its way down.
Wires on this ball high. I tried to call up Task in front of him to find some sort of bump, and you can see the desperation starting to form a little bit for SniR. They're pressing everybody up on these chances that they have. That was almost dangerous on the back end. Third man wasn't back in time. Good dunk here by Fanto onto Dazen. Wazen will take over, and Wires. Oh, that's really dangerous positioning. Task luckily getting back in time, and he found another touch on the backboard to not enable the rebound attempt from daenerys. Wazen full tank of boost, gonna watch Wires expend his just to make sure nobody has a chance on target. Sidewall corner redirect doesn't happen. Instead, it's a perfect pass out to Family, and SniR just too scattered to respond.
Wazen completely picked SniR Esports' pocket. That was supposed to be their aerial opportunity. Steals it for himself. It's a perfect ball inside as well for his teammate. And now it's just got to be 35 seconds where the padlocks have to be put down. And SniR Esports got to try their very best to try and pick their way through the lock. Fonso into the corner. It's the right side of the pitch if you're looking for a miracle. If you're looking for a road to overtime. But already those 30 seconds they had at kickoff has been burnt to half.
Wires. Good challenge. Task. They gotta get something now. Wires, okay. He's 1 of 50. 1 a second 50. Shoot. Get it in. Trying to create something. It's triples, zeros. Even if it goes in now, it doesn't matter. daenerys has rallied back in the biggest manner possible, and they will be your redirect champions here, Pig. In an off monthly where they could make a name for themselves, they did just that.
From the grips of death, from the lower brackets, daenerys not only beat the team that knocked them there in the first place, being the seed 4, also knocking out that seed 2 in the grand finals with that all-round advantage going against them. This is a deserved championship. That is an unbelievable feat. On the pitch, they won 2 extra games in comparison to SniR Esports. One team was the first seed, and they certainly proved that that was correct.
Honestly, though, well played to both teams, and really bring out their own unique styles to play the game. It kept us on our toes in the booth the entire time, because the way SniR played was unpredictable. and Daenerys had to react in real time to what they were bringing out on the pitch. They did well. They booked their ticket to Champions Field and came out on top when it mattered most. So your redirect number 31 champions go to Daenerys.
Incredible. Of course, SniR Esports will be themselves taking a chunk of that £100 prize pool, as do all of our grand finalists in the Redirect 3v3 monthly. But I also want to give a huge thank you to those that was able to cover the rest of the action for today. Of course, that would be Arch, Weltorium and Rocket Yota that handled the community broadcast for us this month, including Yota actually watch partying us for the mainstream, for the lower finals and the grand finals as well. And what a day of action it was. It is a privilege that we were able to watch so much of the action, because this was the Redirect monthly Quan where players were given a chance that they typically would not be able to in these Redirect 3v3 monthly tournaments. And of course, we did see Joffel, Brigade, SniR Esports and daenerys on the mainstream. But look at all those other teams that you could see a bit earlier on. Some 2-1 results sprinkled around, but some as well establishing themselves with those 2-row sweeps. Some credit has to be given to the likes of Zura Mix, who featured on Yota's broadcast for that lower semi-finals, that actually brought Daenerys to a 5.5-minute overtime. So that 2-0 result, not really doing the heavy lifting. We would not know that unless there was someone else in the lobby.
100%. So thank you to all of our community casters that were able to properly highlight all the players on the pitch today, because while we can do a lot on mainstream, we can't do it all. With that being said, if you want to be featured potentially on the mainstream or with our community casters, sign-ups for 3v3 monthly number 32 are already live.
Whoa.
Go ahead and put the exclamation mark sign up in the chat. First time that's ever happened. Usually Az is pretty good about the day after, but we are live right now, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are SniR Esports and want your immediate revenge onto Daenerys, go ahead and join up for that next monthly. And then for one last time, Pig, I'll go ahead and throw it to you, because my dog wants to go ahead and sound off on the very end. Yeah, he wants to play this next month.
He's ready. He got so excited
after what we just witnessed.
and I'm sure he will be excited to hear as well that all the Redirect action can be caught on TikTok. Short form content, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you love it to bits? We love, of course, those vertical formats, and we would love to stream with it as well. But we need 50 followers on the account. I believe we should be under 5 remaining at this point to reach that goal. So please, exclamation TikTok, go there. There's already content on the account for you to catch up with. If you missed it from the previous monthlies, there is going to be a lot of clips on there. I believe every 2 days posted as well. We are trying to get the main monthlies streamed there alongside it. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that has been myself, Sir Pegasus, alongside Quanzek. Of course, we have had Redirect has adminning, observing, producing, doing every single job possible you could ask for to make sure that these Redirect 3v3 monthlies can run. But until number 32, this has been it for today's action, and we will gladly see you then. Goodbye.